Hey everyone, Brian Rundle, Black and White with Brian Rundle and Lana Quest. Lana should be joining me here any minute now. Obviously, we wanted to do our emergency um, podcast here on the debate last night. So I believe Lana is with me right now. Hello,
I
Lana. How are you?
made it. How are you? Okay.
Well, I don't know. We have a lot to talk about, I think.
Sure.
I think this is our, well, I don't think, I know for a fact this is our first Friday night broadcast. And I just said it was an emergency broadcast based on the debate last night. I know we have a lot of thoughts. Lana and I were texting each other a little bit back and forth last night about it
Mm-hmm.
on the initial stages and towards the end. But, we certainly have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say. I don't think either one of us are going to sugarcoat the performance last night. I think for me personally, it was heartbreaking to watch. It was very disappointing. Um, and we'll talk a lot about that later, but just we're going to start, Lana. I'm going to call it the not so good, not so bad, and the ugly. And we'll kind of start backwards with the ugly.
Okay.
So the ugly part, obviously, is Joe Biden was a train wreck. It was just awful. I mean, there's no other way to put it other than he seemed unprepared, and he definitely walked right in to the narrative of him being old and senile. What were your thoughts on the ugly part of it?
Oh, ugly. And are we just talking about Joe Biden? Because
No, because
that
we're
seems unfair.
yeah, I think well, let's start with Biden because I think
Okay.
it's fair to at least give our honest thoughts and opinions. Now, if yours is different than mine, obviously, you tell me, but um, you know, I mean, I think most people, when they watched it, did feel a little uncomfortable with Joe Biden's performance. But, I think what we're eventually going to do is get to the recovery part of this thing. But I want to kind of just start with what we thought or what your thoughts were. And if you didn't think anything, but what your thoughts were about his performance.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I think different. I think the ugly is the way the Democrats acted today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was ugly because if anyone shined a light on his performance, it was the Democrats. And if anyone made it worse than what it was, it's us, the liberals. Like, we did that. Yeah, it was a bad performance. Like, so? Like, I'm just really, he's 80. I don't really know what the expectation was, but I do know that I understood what he was getting across. Did he articulate a lot of it well? No. Did he hit zingers? Did he, miss the wide opening things? Yes. Would he have done that 10 years ago? Maybe so. Like, he's just not good at that. So when he's already not good at debate, then he's older. Now he's got a trillion numbers to remember. So I don't know why that was ever a good idea to seclude him and try to give him all this information, because the one thing that stops me from ever going back to school and, like, at this age,
Math.
right, to go, fucking PhD or master's, it's having to remember and to take tests. I don't want anything else that I have to remember. I'm going to start losing things. And that is what happens to older people. Just in general, your memory only has a certain capacity. It's in, it's out. Like, there was a lot of numbers. Like, the minute he came out and he was like, he created 15,000 jobs, I was like, wah, wah, wah. It's like, oh no, this is over.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really bad, but I wasn't disappointed. Like, I don't, we'll go on, but I don't feel that fire, that fucking disappointment. I don't want to eulogize him. If he passed out,
Mm-hmm.
that would have given me concern. If he was not able to stand there for 90 minutes, if he started sweating profusely and Mitch McConnell did, just stop stiff. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't. Yeah, it was bad. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful.
I mean, listen, I get what you're saying, and you and I are we're informed voters, and we have taken a lot of time to formulate our opinions based on research that is real and not research off of underground websites and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm watching the performance. I actually went back and started watching it again today, just because a lot of times when you're in the moment watching it,
right.
you don't know what's coming. But when you know what's coming and you're able to watch it again, you sort of reassess and say, okay, let's take a look. The first 10 minutes, if you were to ask me today, was he awful from the get-go? I would have said, yeah, he was terrible. Actually, going back looking, the first 10 minutes or so, I was like, okay, he wasn't like really sharp, but it wasn't like I thought, oh no, this is over. It was about 11 minutes in when he forgot basically what he was saying on a particular thing. And I think from that point, it really got to Biden. I think he knew that all this stuff that's been forced in his head that he has to remember to say is something that he knows he's not going to be able to do the rest of the night. And it got to him. And I think, that was set the tone for the rest of the evening. Now, he caught his feet a little bit, during the debate.
End. Yeah, at the end, he did. And what he knows, almost like what he said today in North Carolina. When he spoke about Putin in Europe and Ukraine, boom, 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 right? I mean, not that fast. But he knew, like, that's something he was very comfortable with, right? He's very comfortable with what he knows that they're trying to do relative to daycare, junk fees with the airlines. Those are the things that he kind of knows. I can't even fault him with the abortion thing because he's an old white Catholic, like white male Catholic. So it's probably a thing with him anyway, where he has always been raised like you don't get them, whatever those things are. But now, women's choices are being taken away. So now he's going to try to figure out what the fuck is it, right? Like he really has no real clue what it is. And they trying to explain all these things and the things that are happening to people. And don't forget the immigration. And don't forget he's a felon. Like we can't remember this stuff.
Right. Well, I think, one of the biggest issues is that he had an open win. I mean, because when they switched to abortion, that was his alley. It's like, okay, here we go. And I just don't understand. I think he got really mixed up. And for some reason, he implemented immigration into the abortion argument, which right there, Donald Trump is like, oh my God, this is a gift. This is the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Well, now, Donald Trump, wasn't he talking about immigration in the beginning? Wasn't like Donald Trump
that's all he would talk about. He would always come back to immigration because he just knows that that's a winning argument for him and that's a losing argument for Joe Biden. So if
it actually is not.
If he could somehow bring it back to immigration, he always did. Now, you would see that the moderators would say, Mr. President, the question was about climate change, and, it was like he just went off on tangents. So believe me, we're going to get to Donald Trump. But I think just in fairness, we're going to express, anything that may have, and I will say, I when I did watch it and when he did that first stumble and when he first did it, I was like, you know what, this really sucks because for over 4 years, the right-wing propaganda media has put together this narrative that Joe Biden is senile and doesn't know where he's at. And time and time and time and time again, Joe Biden has proven that wrong. Last night, he didn't prove it right, but it gave them enough ammunition to say, see, we told you so. But again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves, because we are going to get to a good place by the time we end this.
Oh no, I get
But
it.
yeah,
But he talked about that. See, this is the thing. It's like people were so busy with the fucking pants on fire that they didn't listen to him, right? Yeah, he stumbled a lot.
Yeah.
When he said illegal aliens, I was like, oh, what are
Yeah.
you talking about right now? But he also talked about opioid. He's like, hey, been asking you for these machines. It was in a bipartisan deal that, sniffs out the fentanyl, and y'all won't give it to me, right? But we're not hearing that because we're so busy with the first 5 minutes or the next 5 minutes, and we're not hearing that he actually did say some things. he did. He wasn't articulate, and he's sick, and maybe he was breathing through his mouth because he couldn't breathe through his nose.
Well, and see, and that didn't come across well either. His voice sounded weak. He was coughing during the middle of his, and they said he was sick. You know what? The problem is that a lot of people just are going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're just going to make excuses. It doesn't matter, because really these debates are always optics. If you remember Charlie Brown's teacher, and you just never understand what the teacher said. It was just womp, 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 womp. If Donald Trump and Joe Biden, all you heard was womp, 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 you would just think the entire time, oh my God, Donald Trump is dominating this thing, because it didn't matter what words come out. It just matters on how you present
he's louder
them.
and more bombastic. So it's like, oh, he's not old. He must be young and energized.
And he's confident with his lies. He does not care. He's confident with them.
Because guess what? When you lie, you don't have to remember your lies. Of course, he didn't have to prepare for anything. He just spit numbers out of his ass and his mouth and anywhere else they were coming. But yeah, no, Biden did have a bad debate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it.
Bad.
It was a terrible debate.
Really bad.
I know a lot of people are comparing it to Obama's first debate, but
no.
I think the problem is that with Obama, everybody knew he was bouncing back. Like there was no, he was just like, Obama was kind of like, why am I even here?
Well, Obama wasn't losing his words either. I mean, Biden was losing,
and that's what I'm saying. But they're just comparing it in the fact where everybody was panicking after Obama's debate. And in fact, literally days after, if you remember correctly, people were really afraid that Obama could have lost to Romney, especially after that debate. I remember feeling a little sick after it. I was like, dude, what are you like? You are 10 times better than him. How did you let this happen? Then, of course, the second debate happens. And Obama was like, LeBron James. He was just like, I'm taking this game over, and it's we're going to end this thing. So, which he did. But the question is, will there be a second debate? And will Biden, if there is, will he be able to do the same thing that Obama did in the second debate? But we'll get to that a little bit later, because I want to kind of keep this in segments, for one, because I want to break it up in clips. The clips, Lana knows clips. So that was for me, at least, the ugly part. And I think it is fair that to say that, anybody that was watching that who didn't feel uncomfortable as a Joe Biden, I don't think they're being, I think they're being disingenuous, but there's more than to that debate than just what happened with Joe Biden. So let's move on to the not so good. Okay, so we talked about this earlier. The media is going to hammer this. The right-wing media is going to hammer this for a long time. But I've said it before. You and I have talked about this on the show many times. Is we have seen numerous times that something like this happens. A day goes by, a week goes by, 5 million things happen within that time period, and people start to forget. So the question to you, Lana, is, is this going to settle down and are people going to forget it, or are they going to be able to use this, they meaning the right-wing media, and hammer this so hard that it's going to continue to stay in people's minds? Because they'll shape it in a way that this is there. You can pull enough clips to shape this as in Joe Biden just has no idea where he's at.
But they have clips anyway, and they do that.
Correct.
They do the AI, so I don't see anything different. I don't. They will try to beat it to death, but if Democrats shut the hell up about it and stop talking about his sister and his son, they need to talk to him and have a serious conversation about continuing. And it's like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, stop it. That is just and do what? Do what? Because this is all we do. This is what liberals do. Suggest. This is what they need to do.
Yeah.
But then do what?
Yeah.
Kamala is not going to beat Trump. That's not happening.
I don't know if that's true.
She's not beating Trump.
Why do you say that?
Her polls are down lower than Biden. They're not voting for her. If you think Biden has a hard time with black men, do you think black men are voting for Kamala? They're not. She's got her own problems that she has to deal with. This world is not ready for a black woman president. It is not ready. They were not ready for Barack. They're definitely not going to vote for Kamala.
Yeah.
I don't think so. That's just my thought. And you want to risk that?
Yeah, I mean,
her polling's not good. It's not good.
Risk either way, and my guess is that if there was a replacement, which we'll talk about, and because obviously I think it's important to talk about it because it's just been suggested, but I think if they did do a replacement, they are going to look at a Gavin Newsom. They're going to look at a Gretchen Whitmer. They're going to look at a Pete Buttigieg possibly. But I think I think Newsom would probably be the guy. But
that's wild. Like, it's fucking wild. Republicans win because Republicans support no matter fucking what. If the roles were reversed, Republicans would never go on TV, talk about he needs to be replaced. The first time that Biden has a bad debate, he's delivered PACs, CHIP, jobs, unemployment, all of that shit. The first time he gets uncomfortable, that's why I always say the liberals today would never make it through the civil rights movement because just too weak. The minute it gets tough, no one has Biden's back anymore. Now it's like, oh my, like everyone wants to turn away from him. That's some fucked up shit. And he's got to think that in the back of his mind, like, God damn, they don't even have faith in me either. Like,
well, you know what? That's the power of, to me, the right-wing media is that sometimes you even get the people who don't subscribe to that media to buy into the narrative of what they're saying.
Right.
And that is very scary. And you're right. I do want to acknowledge, we do have a comment. One day to the next, he or she, I apologize, I'm not sure if it's a male or female, but we go back and forth a little bit on the comment section in the comments there, and I always appreciate that they come on and at least comment. But it says, if I were Trump after the first 15 minutes, I would have been thinking, holy crap, I'm going to be president again. And I don't disagree with that. I think Donald Trump was looking over a few times. In fact, I mean, I hate to say it, it almost looks like Donald Trump looked over at Biden and felt sorry for him a couple times. I mean, it just got that vibe, that is just like, and I personally think Donald Trump could have been even harsher to Joe Biden during that entire debate and have said some really mean and terrible things that would have played to the base. But I don't think it would have played to the rest of America. And I think that plays out a little bit too as we get further along in the show. But like I said, I just want to kind of take it in segments here so we can work up to what I believe is going to be the ultimate. See, I feel like Biden right now. It's like, and I'm nowhere near his age, and I didn't travel across country, come back, travel across country again, and then have to go debate and get into a shit talking contest with a professional shit talker.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. I have heard, I listen to these people who, Pod Save America, they were in the Biden administration, and they would help Biden prepare for the debates and all this stuff. And they have made it clear. They said these incumbent presidents, they hate this more than anything, preparing for these debates, that they even have to do it. It irritates them. And you have to go through this whole thing. And that clearly came across with Biden last night.
And he's across from a felon. Like, literally,
Right.
I would have been like, what the fuck is this? I am the president of the United States. Why am I standing across from a fucking rapist?
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Yeah. So I do have some clips. So I want to play some of the highlights of the debate last night, and then we could talk about, some of the things that were on here, and then we'll go from there.
Not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
With the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
That was over 10 minutes into it, and that's what I thought. If he would have asked me, I would have thought that was earlier into the debate, but that was the part where I think from that point on, that little part got in Joe Biden's head. But as the debate went on, you could tell he kind of got his footing back a little bit, but he just wasn't as sharp as he had always been. And again, Trump was as sharp as could be, but they were all based on
Sharp.
Well, sharp. I mean, sharp. And again, I say this not to give praise to Donald Trump. What I'm saying is he's sharp in his words, but none of his words were anything but lies. So when you said earlier,
like he was saying lies, but shit that didn't make sense either. He didn't complete sentences either. Like, is because he says it forcefully.
I say it like this, and maybe I can put it this way to help with my analogy here. Yes. He's more like a used car salesman. When you can talk with authority and you can convince somebody who is buying this piece of shit car, when you say it with that authority, that's the sharpness I'm talking about. Okay. At the end of the day, if that used car salesman sold that car, he won. And that's the analogy that I would use. Does that make more sense?
Right.
Yeah. All right. So let's watch a few more highlights here.
Destroyed and deleted all of the information they found because they found out we were right. We were right. And they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person at this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now.
That was good.
My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
You're gonna answer?
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one.
See, that's where I was a little disappointed. He absolutely should have attacked that. He should have attacked and said,
Biden would have never, I don't think he would have done that 10 years ago. He wouldn't have been on the stage talking about a porn star.
Yeah, I mean, but he said, I think, again, they told him, look, these are the things to attack him for. Attack him. And he brought it up and thought, okay, I did my job. But you have to continue to attack
but that's not Biden's way.
No, you're right.
We're expecting something from someone who has been in politics as a gentleman.
Correct.
When politics were different. And now you're saying you have to attack him and say he couldn't even call him a rapist. He said molester. He just said this little thing, right?
Yeah.
He couldn't say the words. He didn't want to say that.
Well, let me ask you, Lana, because 4 years ago, he was in one of probably the worst shit-talking debates. Not probably. That was 100% the worst debate of all time 4 years ago, the first time that those two debated. Now, I think Joe Biden, if somebody told me that was the worst performance a president has ever had in a debate, I wouldn't argue. But I think an overall debate that that first one was awful, and it was a shit-talking contest, but Joe Biden was able to hold his own because Joe Biden's still a Scranton, Pennsylvania guy. He was raised kind of as a tough guy, a little bit. So he can get in it. But I think at this point here, as being a little bit older and kind of almost being insulted that he has to be on stage with somebody like Donald Trump played into that a little bit. What do you think?
I think absolutely. And I think when he was getting into it with them before, maybe it's because Trump was in his face with it. Like there was no shutting off mics. So it was definitely a going back and forth. And maybe that's what they needed. Maybe if there was a going back and forth, like he would have like woke up and was like,
Yeah. All right. Let's hear a few more minutes of this debate last night.
Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking official, a DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. He basically went after his political opponent because he thought it was going to damage me.
The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States.
I think that's the other thing, Lana. I think the only issue is that a lot of times when Trump was talking, Biden did look. It was just like, dude, you be aware that the camera's on you as well.
That's what they were saying. He should have been on the other side because he kept looking at the moderators or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was looking off.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, I think we've heard enough. We get the point of last night. We've already talked and gave our, sort of description on that. So let's move on. We can move on now to the not so bad. As I said, the first
Pelosi. It's just like Pelosi did it. Did you hear Pelosi today?
What did she say?
Oh my God. She said she's like, oh, so I not manufactured my own assassination. She said something about that. Like, oh yeah, so I, engineered my own assassination.
Well, this is the frustrating part, right? Is that, you take professional people who've been doing this their entire lives, and they have to now argue with a clown.
Have to answer that question, right?
Yeah. And it's just like, I think most of us could probably, if we got into some sort of debate or anything with some idiot, we probably just walk away. They can't walk away because this is their job. This is what they're talking about. And unfortunately, they have to engage in this nonsense. And anytime you engage in nonsense when you're not a nonsensical person, it could trip you up, but when you are a nonsense person, I mean, it could just absolutely, you're going to win every time because you have no morals. You have no thought of saying the right things.
Right. He can fix anything.
You can't battle that.
I don't even know if he could battle the abortion because Trump would have just came back like he did and said, oh, Democrats are giving birth to babies and setting them aside to decide whether they're going to abort them. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I think he could. Yeah, I think he could have battled it. I think all he needed to do, I think for me, Joe Biden, all he needed to do was just come out, sound normal, sound fine, and just walk right through that and just get the hell out of there. He did not do himself. He did himself a disservice, but again, we're going to get to the road to recovery. And I think you and I are probably on the same page of what's going to happen later. Baby Juggernaut has joined us. Hi guys. Biden looks stronger in Raleigh today. We're going to get to that for sure. And I definitely agree with you. But Lana, you brought up the point about Democrats and how they panicked. And, I normally don't watch first of all, I can't stand the pregame stuff and I can't stand the postgame stuff. And I normally don't watch it. But after the debate was over, I kept CNN on for like 10 minutes and it was just depressing. And it was like
a eulogy.
Well, that's what you even put, I think, on Twitter today is why is everybody acting like Joe Biden died?
Like when I woke up, looking at Morning Joe and everyone's just like,
yeah,
what the fuck is going on right now?
Yeah,
this is wild.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to say that I did not have a bad feeling watching. I think I've made that clear. There was part of me that's like, oh no, what is going on? Now there wasn't a part of me that said, okay, we got to immediately find the replacement for Joe Biden. My thought was, okay, how do we move forward with this, and how are they going to um, what's the word I'm looking for? See, I feel like, how are they going to react to
We'll
this?
find your replacement. How about that?
Yeah, find my Lana will be on Tuesday night with somebody else. I don't know. Are you going to keep the name of the show? So as long as I'm with somebody else Tuesday night,
They'll call it the White and Black Show.
she's gonna be on her show, on the Quest show, and she's gonna be like, "Gosh, poor Brian, he's losing it," and we're gonna have to find his replacement. But anyway, speaking of Democrats, not all Democrats were setting the funeral for Joe Biden. There was the guy that we talked about earlier, Gavin Newsom, who has been a phenomenal surrogate. And immediately after the debate was over, he was asked about the performance. Alex Wagner was interviewing him, and Alex Wagner was almost having the "this is over, what are you going to do about the funeral" sort of question. And you could see, as she's trying to ask the question, you could see Gavin Newsom is almost chomping at the bit, like, all right, shut up with your stupid questions.
Yeah, I'm ready.
It doesn't matter what you have to say. I already know my
He's like,
answer.
tag me in.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Kamala. They were both like, okay, let's go.
100%. So here's
Josh
Gavin
Shapiro.
Newsom's.
Oh,
Yes, they were. Here's Gavin Newsom's response.
They're getting a chorus of questions about whether Biden should step down. There is panic that has set in. There is panic that has set in among people who have watched this debate, who are Democrats, people who are strategists, and some even inside Democratic campaigns. Do you think it's unfounded?
Well, I think it's unhelpful, and I think it's unnecessary. We've got to go in and got to keep our heads high. And as I say, we've got to have the back of this president. You don't turn your back because of one performance. What kind of party does that? It's been a masterclass. 15.6 million jobs. That's 8 times more than the last 3 Republican presidents combined. The only thing the last 3 Republican presidents have in common is recessions. Democrats deliver. This president has delivered. We need to deliver for him at this moment. With all due respect, the more time we start having these conversations, go down these rabbit holes, it's unhelpful to our democracy, our fate and future of this country, the world. They need us right now to step up, and that's exactly what I intend to do.
Excellent. I mean,
thank you. That just to talk about replacing him is like, I'm telling you, they did a poll because they were talking about replacing him. They're like, well, that's what fast. Like, what's his face had his whole board. As lovely as Newsom is, no one knows him except for the people steeped in politics. So if you put someone like that out there, people aren't going to vote. Biden has name recognition. Like, you can't just pop someone up there like, what's more? This again. What the hell is this, right? It's not enough time for people to get familiar with anyone new right now. That is a pipe dream. If Biden is in the bed in a coma, get the fuck out and vote, because that's what Republicans would do.
Yeah, and that's a point I've made many times with people. I said, people would always be like, you like Biden? Biden is old and senile. First of all, he's not senile. You guys are just buying into a narrative that just isn't true. But here's the deal. Let's say he was senile. I absolutely promise you, if it were a brain dead hippopotamus running against Donald Trump, I'm voting for the hippo. It doesn't matter who it is, because if the hippo has the same policies as Joe Biden does, then the hippo is my favorite candidate. I don't care how he sounds in the debate. I don't care what he looks like. None of that. I don't care how old he is. None of that matters to me.
Right. And the other piece is that not only are you voting for a president, you're voting for his administration.
Right.
You know that Biden has the best of the best of the best working for him, his vice president, people he's appointed, people in the West Wing. You know he's got the best of the Secretary of Defense. All of these guys working to get hostages home, working so that Ukraine and Russia doesn't spill into friggin' Poland. Like, they're working. So it's not, Biden's not out here doing all of this stuff single-handedly. That's not what his job is, right? Trump gets in there. he's gonna. All of his administration from the last time are in jail or indicted. Like,
right. Or the ones who left are not endorsing him.
exactly. Like, you have to think better than that. This is bigger than Biden.
All right, you got him. Good girl, you got him.
Yeah, it's bigger than Biden.
Yeah,
it's about our freedom.
Yeah, there's no question about it, which actually leads a little bit more into the not so bad stuff. So
yeah, he will golf more.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like, Joe Biden had a perfect opportunity to hit him when he started bragging about golf. Instead of challenging him, he should have said, of course you're better at golf because you fucking played every day while you were working.
You know what? I don't think Biden, we forget Biden's busy being the president.
Right.
So all of the things that we know about Trump and what Trump has done, he probably doesn't know. He probably doesn't even know Trump golfed more than 300 days. He probably doesn't know those little things about Trump, right? Because why would he know?
Yeah.
He's not studying Trump like we are. He's not, he's not controlling his Twitter.
Yeah.
Not Biden.
We had another surrogate too, because I know a lot of people instantly after that were like, boy, oh boy, what's going to happen is there's going to have to be a very tough conversation with Joe Biden, and maybe somebody like Barack Obama is just going to have to sit down with them and give them a talk. Well, Barack Obama today was on Twitter, and this is what he put on Twitter. He wrote, bad debate nights happen, trust me, I know, but this election is still a choice between someone who has fought for ordinary folks his entire life and someone who only cares about himself, between someone who tells the truth, who knows right from wrong and will give it to the American people straight, and someone who lies through his teeth for his own benefit. Last night did not change that, and it's why so much is at stake in November. So anybody who is of the mindset that Barack Obama is going to walk into Joe Biden and say, buddy, I think you might need to move on, doesn't look like that's going to happen. He made it clear. Bill Clinton also tweeted out something similar today as well. So I see a rally as well. I mean, I know there are a lot of people talking about the Democrats and that, they're going to have these secret meetings. First of all, there's only one person that's going to make the decision as to whether or not they're going to be president or not be president or run for president. And that's Joe Biden. The Democratic Party is not going to force him out. That is not happening. That is a fantasy if you actually believe that is something like that is going to happen. It's not going to happen. But you had that. And then we also had another interesting thing happened, Lana, after the debate. They asked a undecided voter last night after the debate, who is it? Have you made your decision? And this is what this gentleman had to say.
Tomorrow, who would you vote for?
Me? Say no. I'll vote for Biden for sure.
Would that have been your answer before the debate?
No.
Yeah, so there's one undecided voter. And then also, Lana, if you'd like to comment, you can, but I'd like to also share this article that came out today, right after the debate from Newsweek. Undecided voters say they now support Joe Biden after the debate. A group of undecided Latino voters said they would vote for President Trump or Biden after watching his Thursday night debate with former President Donald Trump. Headlines about the Biden stumbling over his words and being difficult to hear have not stopped since he and Trump went head-to-head in the first 2024 presidential debate in Atlanta. Even some Democrats have called for the party to reconsider its options, including Andrew Yang, who gives a fuck what Andrew Yang has to say. But a clip posted on X shows the group being interviewed by a journalist. One man said he would vote for Biden because Trump sounds like a crazy liar, which he is absolutely correct. And, so that is encouraging. So my question to you, Lana, is after Donald Trump was indicted on 34 counts and was found guilty, there was a big rush to donate money to him, and he gained a lot more support within his base.
Right.
Is it possible that this could possibly benefit Joe Biden in a
Right.
way?
I mean, that's true. Like he just did. Okay, so with Trump, he gained. I don't know. It seemed like it just ignited his base that he already has, and to give him more money is
It did not gain him any new voters.
Right. But with Biden, like you just saw, like what we saw was clear last night. Biden had a bad debate. Trump had an unhinged debate.
Correct.
Unhinged. And every single question, the Mr. Kitchen Table issues couldn't even talk about daycare. The simplest thing, how would you, make daycare affordable? He didn't even try. He just kept pivoting. J6, he starts taking credit for Biden's economy.
Right.
And they're asking him about J6. Like, people aren't stupid that watch that. They're going to see, yes, he had a bad debate. He was forgetting some shit. But this one over here, it's like, what the fuck, was just lying and not answering what's important to America. So I think that he is going to get, because people that support him are probably going to give even more. They're going to push it, because at this point, we're sick of the media. Like, we're sick of the media. The media is what kills this. Like,
no question. And that's why I said
awful.
That media drives me fucking insane. And
Awful.
even cable media I hate. I can't stand, even print media is really, and print media was something that you could always trust. But print media has fallen into the same trap that cable news has done. And it's really a money grab. And it's, how do I get clicks? Well, I'm going to put this article up that the Democrats are scrambling to find a replacement for Joe Biden first thing this morning.
How many? And it's so funny because the journalists put these things out like they were the only journalist that was writing that today. They were all writing that same thing. It's just like,
well, it could be a rally around Joe Biden, and time will go on, and that will play out a little bit more. I mean, you had the instant rally as soon as Trump was found guilty. You know, it was like, all right, jump right on it. We're going to go help our boy. This might take a few minutes to settle in for some people, but when they realize that Joe Biden is going absolutely nowhere and that he is still your candidate, and from this point on, when he continues to go out there and he has rallies like he did today, and what I'm hoping is that he shows his face more in different interviews and tells people, I hope he does maybe some town halls, because he's excellent at those. You know, and once you start to shake off the stink a little bit, then it starts to open back up to like, okay, now I remember why I'm voting for this guy.
Right. I totally agree, because you know, that's when he's at his best, the small little town halls, when he can just be himself and not have to remember all these freaking things about the rapists.
Yeah. So, you know, we talked about the rally today, and I have a couple of clips from that rally. Lana was texting me earlier today saying I wasn't able to watch it, but she was like, this is
I know, I was right, because
awesome.
I stream it at work, the Xfinity app.
You were ready to send money at that time, weren't you? You were ready to donate. So I mean,
I was like,
yeah. And that's, you know, and that's the thing, is that anybody that was a Joe Biden voter and saw this today, I mean, it literally re-energized you within 12 hours. I mean, it did not take long, because it's kind of like, where the fuck was this guy last night?
Yeah, I mean, and granted, there was a teleprompter, but
doesn't matter.
His energy, like all of it.
Yes.
He wasn't stuttering over the words. He was ad-libbing inside. Yep. Like, he just looked spectacular, and kudos to him, because now that video can be circulated. Now you're giving Democrats something to like use, so we can circulate that out and showing. So yeah.
Do you think you'd be able to stand on a stage and read off a teleprompter that well and be able to deliver those words in such a manner that you're like, is he even reading off a teleprompter?
No, because we've heard Trump read from a teleprompter. It's like a third grader.
Yeah,
No,
he starts getting
worse
mad,
than
if they
grader.
blow in the wind a little bit, or you're right. I mean, so, but anyway, he did have a rally today, and we have a couple of clips.
Yeah, too. He went from North Carolina to New York.
Yeah, again, I think he is instant. I'm sure he already had these set up, but he definitely seemed energized, and he seemed like he was ready to go. But this was him today in North Carolina, and you would think that this was prior to the debate.
Right.
This was today, and it was after the debate.
Yeah.
Now, folks, I don't know what you did last night, but I spent 90 minutes on a stage debating a guy who has the morals of an alley cat.
Might have used a different term than alley cat, but that's okay. All right, Joe. With us on nitpick everything.
He's still
Did you
sick,
see
too.
Trump
You can
last
tell.
night?
Yeah.
My guess he said, I mean it sincerely, a new record for the most lies told in a single debate. He lied about the great economy he created. He lied about the pandemic he botched, killing millions of people. He closed businesses. He closed schools, losing their homes people all over this country. America's flat on its back. So I told Trump that he was just one of two presidents in American history who left office with fewer jobs than he started. Herbert Hoover was the other one. That's why I call him Donald Herbert Hoover Trump. Then he lied about how great he was for veterans. But then I told him how he had called a veteran who had given their lives in the country in World War I and refused to go to the grave sites. He called them suckers and losers. He tried to deny it. But let me ask you, are you going to believe a 4-star Marine general, his own former chief of staff, John Kelly, who said he said that? Or a disgraced, defeated, and lying Donald Trump?
Yeah, that was good, and we got some more from that. But first, he brought up the economy, that Donald Trump had said that he had created the greatest economy in the history of this country, which is certainly not true. First of all, we pointed this out before, and we got to make this clear to anybody that wants to talk the economy in this country, is that sure, during the first few years, 3 years of Donald Trump's administration, the economy was doing very well, but it had nothing to do with what Donald Trump did. It had there's no policies that Donald Trump implemented that made the economy do better. The only reason why the economy did well is because the economy was on an upswing after Obama left, and he really just didn't do anything until he implemented that the tax break for the rich people, which eventually led to him doubling the debt of what Joe Biden did during his administration. But the difference is that Joe Biden, half the debt that Donald Trump created, it actually went to shit that created jobs that helped American people, where Donald Trump's debt did nothing but help the rich people. Now, of course, they both had COVID relief programs that added to the debt, so they both helped the people during COVID. But when you talk about the non-COVID stuff, Donald Trump doubled the amount just by cutting taxes for the rich, and Joe Biden had half of the debt, but he used it. He had a return on investment.
Right. That's absolutely right. Yeah.
So it's frustrating. Then, of course, he brought up the suckers and losers thing, and Donald Trump denies that and said, first of all, that Joe Biden made that up, just like Joe Biden made up that Donald Trump's a criminal and he's the one who pressed for these cases. Which
Hunter is the one with the real felonies, the heavy felony. Like, what the
Yeah, I mean, and there's no substance, there's absolutely no proof to any of the thing these people say, but you will have the MAGA Republicans who will absolutely believe that Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton are all these mastermind criminals,
Yeah.
and they just somehow get away with it where Donald Trump doesn't, which is, I mean, absolutely ridiculous. But anybody that wants to question whether or not Joe Biden made this up or John Kelly actually said it, there was a piece that was done here that quotes John Kelly with what he said.
Kelly sets the record straight with on-the-record confirmation of a number of damning details about Donald Trump from background sources, including from a 2020 Atlantic story reported with unnamed sources by editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg, including the stunning detail that Trump turned to Kelly on Memorial Day at Arlington National Cemetery in 2017 and asked, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" This is Kelly confirming on the record stories of Trump insulting Senator John McCain and former President George H.W. Bush because in Vietnam and in World War II, respectively, the former aviators were shot down. Kelly describes Trump as, quote, "a person that thinks those who defend their country in uniform or are shot down or seriously wounded in combat or spend years being tortured as POWs are all, quote, suckers because, quote, there is nothing in it for them. A person that did not want to be seen in the presence of military amputees because, quote, it doesn't look good for me. A person that demonstrated open contempt for a Gold Star family, for all Gold Star families on TV during the 2016 campaign."
That is coming from John Kelly, which we've talked about this before, I think a couple of weeks ago, Lana. Is it what is in it for John Kelly to make up a story? You even heard Donald Trump last night. He's like, think about it. Why? It's a ridiculous. Why would I ever say that about military people? Why would I? But on the same token, why would John Kelly make this up? So who do you think is more credible in this conversation? John Kelly, who's a 4-star general who probably voted for Donald Trump. I don't know that as a fact, but you can surmise that he did. Who do you think has more credibility in this guy or a lifelong lying con man?
But we heard him attack military men and women. We heard him attack McCain.
Yep.
We saw him with the Khan family, how he attacked the father and mother of, I forget his name, but Khan, who died in Afghanistan?
I believe, I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I'm sorry, but right, he attacked them too. Like, so someone who we've heard with our ears attacking military is now telling us he didn't attack those military men and women. Like,
correct. He knows that, since there's no audio of it, and even if there was, he somehow still would argue to the death that it
doesn't
him,
matter.
Or he didn't really say it, or he would come up with some nonsense that people would actually go around and repeat and say, yeah, he didn't say that. You guys are just taking it out of context, even though the words are exactly what he said.
I don't even think General Kelly has ever said suckers and losers in the last 40 years of his life. Or 50. Something he probably does not say.
Certainly what I would not mind if John Kelly would come out at some point and say it on the record in an interview. I know he said it on the record there, but on an audio where he's actually saying it rather than it being repeated from a story would certainly help. And I think John Kelly obviously is somebody that would put country ahead of party. And again, I don't know that John Kelly is a Republican. I have no idea. He did work under the Trump administration. I don't know that necessarily makes you a Republican. There are plenty of Republicans that work under Democrats and vice versa. But either way, I hope at some point that happens. And I think he may be prodded, more and more as we get closer to the election for him to do that. And I hope at some point that he does. But here's another clip from today. Obviously, the clip of the day that probably will get people the most charged up. This was President Joe Biden closing today. That is really the best way to get back on this road to recovery of letting people know, hey, I fucked up last night. There's no question about it, but I'm not the idiot that you saw. I am the guy that could still do this. And this was really, really good.
Folks, let me close with this. I know I'm not a young man.
By the way, just in this clip, Lana, does he already look younger than he did last night?
He looks younger. He doesn't have a stuffy tie on. I was about to say his suit, his shirt, he's got some color.
Yeah.
It looks like he's got more hair.
Right.
For some reason, like, why does it look like he has more hair today?
He looks like he's 10 years younger than he was at least 10 years.
He must have been very tired too. Like, he just didn't look well. He looks well rested and definitely better. Maybe it was too late. Maybe they should do debates in the morning.
Are you suggesting that he did not down the Mountain Dew, that they were so afraid?
Yeah, maybe, right, exactly. But if he down Mountain Dew, he'd be in the bathroom, man.
I think we could get rid of two different narratives from last night. One, that CNN was going to be unfair to Donald Trump, and two, that Joe Biden takes drugs, performance enhancing drugs.
It didn't work.
Think those are two things. I want to talk about CNN and their coverage too here in a second, or the moderators. I do have an opinion about that, but let's get back to Joe Biden's closing arguments. I'm not going to interrupt this again.
State the obvious. Well, I know.
Oh my God!
Crowd's already behind him. This isn't them cheering, saying, "Yeah, fuck that old shit. You still have your."
I don't. Folks, I don't walk as easy as I used to. I don't speak as smoothly as I used to. I don't debate as well as I used to. But I know what I do know. I know how to tell the truth. I know right from wrong.
Biden is always sick, though. That is what worries me.
Say that again?
No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have put it in.
I
just said he's always sick. I'm like, that is the thing that worries me the most, because
he's
always has a cold.
Yeah, we got to get rid of that.
I know how to get things done. And I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up. Yeah.
Yeah, that would fire up anybody. That, you know, if you were there, if you were watching, no matter what, that's the road to recovery. This is gonna be how he's gonna have to do it. But you know, the thing is this is gonna have to be from now until the election.
Yeah,
there cannot be another stumble.
He's gonna wear out, man. He's got a lot of work to do.
He really does, and you know, it's. I think it's important that not just today, but I think from this point on, that he acknowledges, you know, the stumbles. He doesn't have to do it every day until November, but we have to do it until we shake this off a little bit. And it's just, you know, if I'm him, I just go to all these interviews and go, boy, that was really bad. And I get it. I watched it again. I was not happy with my performance. I was not prepared as I should have been. Right. And, you know, quite frankly, it is difficult to argue with somebody who is not fact-checked, who is not, you know, in real time being stopped and saying that's not true. And you're allowing somebody to continue to say, hey, that's not true. Now, that brings me to my opinion. I don't know if you're going to have a different one, but I hear a lot of people blaming CNN for not fact-checking Donald Trump during the debate. This is my thought on it. My thought is, I don't think CNN and the moderators are to blame on this one. That's my thought. And the reason why is because A, it's really Joe Biden's job to fact check Donald Trump. Now, he does it in such warp speed that it's nearly impossible to do. But it's not CNN's job. Now, had they gone into the debate and said, we are going to have a live fact checker there, and we're going to, fact check, then, obviously they should have been able to do it. But Joe Biden, it was incumbent upon Joe Biden to take care of everything Donald Trump said, and I don't think he did.
Yeah, I agree. They said that they weren't going to fact check. We can't blame them when they set out the top. And we didn't expect Biden to fact check everything, but there were some obvious things that he definitely could have. That Nancy Pelosi thing, it's like all you had to do is say, dude, you were the president. Is Nancy Pelosi the president? Is the dementia?
Correct.
When he talked about taking 2 dementia tests, I would have been like, excuse you?
If you would have had a great arguer up there, Trump would have been just decimated, absolutely decimated, and it wouldn't have been even close. And we talk about the not so bad. You brought it up earlier, Lana, and we have to continue to harp on this, is that Donald Trump lied all night long. So the good news is that everybody that I heard, so I'm thinking to myself, everybody's going to be like, oh my God, Donald Trump won this debate. It wasn't even close. This is going to change things. And so when you ask people who won the debate, just on who talked better, obviously Donald Trump's going to show the higher percentage of who won. Obviously nobody won that debate, but what I have seen, at least encouraging, it bothered me on the Biden side, but it encouraged me on the Trump side, is that so many people were like, I don't believe these are the 2 choices that I have to choose from for president of the United States. They weren't just singling out Joe Biden. They were lumping in that awful performance with a guy who sounded like he knew what he was talking about, but a lot of people didn't necessarily believe it.
Totally agree. So it is a good thing that they saw Biden being bad, but they also saw like, this guy's awful too. And then you got to weigh the bad, right? Like bad because he stutters and he's losing his train of thought. Bad because he's a liar and he's unhinged and he just says anything. Like he doesn't even tell normal lies. He like really, his lies are wild. Like it's just so wow. That man said that Democrats give birth to baby like that. Like that's just so dumb because it's not even Democrats. Like, are you saying a Republican woman is doing that too? Like she went through all that labor and then she's like, oh yeah, just take that.
Let's get rid of it.
I don't want it.
Yeah, we bought the crib, we bought the the rattle, we bought everything, we bought the bottles, baby. Bottles.
We're just murdering. We're just murdering, and like no one's reporting it to the police.
Yeah, we're getting close, and I decided this kid's gonna be a pain in my ass. Let's just get rid of it.
Matter of fact, I took it home. I brought it back because I'm like, is there a return? I want my money back. I don't. Can you put that back where it came from? Like, come on, man. Come on, man.
Let's catch up on a couple of the comments. Baby Juggernaut said same. I think that's when we were talking about that we were just all in for Biden regardless. Trump will golf more. Yeah, there's no question because I think it was Claire McCaskill, I think. Or no, somebody, I can't remember who it was. And it might have been Bill Clinton's comment today on Twitter about how Trump is basically, if he wins, he's just a Trojan horse for these awful people that are going to be in place, that are going to be running our government. The people voting or on the fence and they don't understand, if they don't understand the kind of people that are going to be running the government under Donald Trump, it's not your normal type of Republicans. These are horrific people. These are people who sympathize or may even be part of the Proud Boys or Nazi groups or anything like that. And people might say, you're being a little dramatic. I am not being dramatic.
No, they do. Are you not paying attention to the Supreme Court? These past rulings, have y'all not? They're ruling for an insurrectionist. Like, are y'all not paying attention? They just said like, Oh, the federal governments that are in charge of the regulations for clean air, clean water, those guys, and make sure that we're breathing, and our food is good, and EPA and whatever. No, they can't make all the rules. It's up to the law to do it. The government. We want the lawmakers to make the rules. Is that what the courts are going to make the rules and not? So they're taking the structure, like they're restructuring it so that like the Environmental Protection Agency can't even make their own rules anymore. Like it has to go through like the courts who don't know anything about the environment. Their law, like why are you in their lane? So that's what they're trying to do. They want the courts, which they're going to pack with Republicans. That's what Trump's next job is, to pack the rest of the courts. And they're going to make the law of the land. They got people kids are being taught the Bible in school. I'm going to make a tweet about this too, because that shit is wild, because you can't teach Black history, which are facts.
Right.
Facts.
Right.
But you can teach the Bible, which is like, we don't even know who wrote the words in the Bible.
Not even really a coin flip in my estimation as to whether or not those are facts.
Is that facts on walking on water? This is what you're going to teach your children, but you can't teach them about Rosa Parks?
Well, we're also teaching children not to commit adultery. I'm not really sure I understand that one.
Probably certain parts of the Bible, I guess. I don't know.
No, but that's in the 10 Commandments. So when you're plastering the 10 Commandments in your classroom, and the kids are like, wait, don't commit what? What does that mean? It's just like, so now you're indoctrinating children into
because now you're talking about sex. So now they're gonna go Google adultery and know what sex is, all because of Republicans. Y'all are stupid.
Walton Paul says, I thought it was great, Walton. I apologize. I'm not sure when you said that. I don't know if it was part of when we were showing the Biden rally, or if you were talking about Trump. If you want to clarify that, I'd be happy to see that. But so let's get to the sort of we've already kind of talked about the road to recovery for what Biden needs to do, and the idea of the replacement. I think the good news is that today they have already put the brakes on that idea. So you can write your little articles, you can talk on CNN all you want to, you could do I love Joe Biden, but
oh my gosh,
he's so great. I love him. I just want to give him a hug, but I think maybe somebody's got to have the tough conversation with him.
Yeah, like Jilly wasn't talking to him that night, like Joe. That was not a good one. Like, I'm sure she talked with him. Get better.
Yeah. Now, again, I'll admit, I didn't have the greatest feeling after it. I'm telling you, though, I'm not thinking to myself, I always still thought, at the end of the day, Joe Biden's still going to be the nominee in November at the end of the day. I mean, I felt bad about it. I felt, did anything cross my mind of, will there be a replacement? I'll admit I got caught up in it for a second, kind of like, gosh, is this going to have to happen sort of thing? And not because I wanted it to happen. It was because I'm just thinking, is this going to be forced now? Is this going to be forced upon him? And I had to consider that possibility. But I said, instantly, and I was texting people afterwards, that Joe Biden will still be the nominee in November. So anybody that has any idea that he won't be is certainly fooled themselves. There is a podcast called the I've Had It podcast. I'm just discovering this. There's a woman named Jennifer Welsh that I discovered today, and there was a clip of her talking about the administration and the future of the election here, and she has some good things to say, so I wanted to play this. Take a look.
Pointed out, coming to this election in November, a lot of people that are maybe mid to low information voters that are rather apolitical are beating this drum. Biden's old. Biden's old. Well, Trump's old too. They're both old. We have two old candidates, and you need to face the facts. You're not only voting for the candidate, you're voting for an administration. And Trump is a Trojan horse for these radical religious nuts. They want to strip decades of progress that women have made. In this election, for those of you that have a problem with Biden's age, you're voting for an administration. The Biden administration are competent, progressive people that support equality among genders, sexualities, skin colors. The Trump sycophants of this convicted felon, they do not. They support Christian white nationalism, full stop.
So I'm sitting there saying, I got this quote about a white or a Trojan horse, and I couldn't remember what it was. It's from the very clip that I played. So this leads again back to Lana maybe having a new partner and firing me because of my cognitive decline. But that's where I got that from, and she's dead on. I mean, that's pretty much what it comes down to. We're really voting at the end of the day for policy. We're voting for administrations.
Exactly.
And not because a guy couldn't remember a few words during a debate in June.
Absolutely. It's bigger than the president. You're voting for your freedom.
Yeah. Especially after flying back and forth. I mean, shit, I come home from Vegas and I need to take a fucking day off.
Yeah.
Joe Biden comes back from the G7. He doesn't take the day off.
And you have to really look at that because he's old. Like I tell you, when I am tired, I don't function well. Like I can't talk. Like I really can't talk. I don't want to talk to anyone because I don't do well. Like I can't. Nothing's connecting in my brain when I'm tired. And that's as I get older. When I was young and I was tired, it didn't matter. You just go all night. But when you're older and you get tired, I can't imagine being 80 and just sleepy and tired and needing a nap. Like why would you laugh about someone who needs a nap at 80? Like, that's like this dumbest fucking thing on the planet. Like, do you not get tired? Like,
well, that goes back to the concern, though. That still goes back to the concern. Is like, if he's too tired and he's 80, he shouldn't be running for president. And that is, that's what a lot of people are going to say. But the argument back to that, and I was going to ask you, because from this point on, you're going to get people who might have even been a Biden supporter or on the fence on, gosh, that was pretty rough. Why should I vote for Joe Biden? And I had this conversation with somebody today, somebody I work with, and he called me. He's like, man, that was pretty brutal. And I said, yeah, I agree. It was brutal. But here's the thing. He's going to be the nominee in November, right? And Joe Biden has so many different accomplishments in less than 4 years that no other president in my lifetime. Are there other presidents in my lifetime that could get up and outspeak anybody in the room and have done a phenomenal job? You're damn right. I mean, we had Clinton, we had Obama, and they were both fantastic leaders of this country. But Joe Biden's accomplishments in 4 years outweighs most presidents in 8 years. That's not an opinion. That is a 100% fact. So for you to say, I don't know if I'm going to vote for this guy because he stumbled a little bit in a shit talking contest against a professional shit talker is probably not the best analysis of how you should vote later. And just like the young lady said there, like Lana has brought up many times, this is about women's rights. This is about people of color and their rights. This is about the LGBTQ community and their rights. This is about, and you know what, just me as a white man, this is about my rights and my freedoms. I want nothing to do with living in a Christian nationalist society. I want zero to do with that. That doesn't mean I want Christianity banned. I'm all for your Christianity. I have no problem with your Christianity. I saw a perfect analogy where they said, your religion prevents you from doing things. It doesn't prevent me from doing things.
Right.
So
Right.
if your religion precludes you from being able to do things that you don't see fit in your own life or your children's lives or whoever it is around you, no problem. Do it all you want to, and I'll back you up. I wouldn't tell
Right.
you not to. But
Right.
don't fucking tell me this is how I have to live my life in the United States of America, where
Right.
this country has been founded on the freedom for all people. And unfortunately, we had not gotten there, fully, and we're still not there, but we're still fighting to get there. And if anybody thinks that this fight is going to end by putting Donald Trump in, it'll end in one way, but the wrong way instead of
Right.
the way that we want to go. But
Right.
that's my thought. Lana?
Right. Absolutely. Biden has done more for MAGA than Trump has.
Correct. That is number one. That's correct. Convincing them, good luck, but go ahead.
Right, because if they have retirements, their retirements are doing well. Unemployment is down. There's infrastructure in your red states, in your towns, like broadband is coming. That's Joe Biden. That is not your red state governor or mayor or whoever it is. So Biden is just out here doing things, and we really, really got to pay attention to that, because we saw last night Donald Trump does not speak policy. So which is it? Are you voting for your kitchen table issues? Or are you voting for Trump because he's a racist bigot? Like, be honest, because I don't see how you're voting for him saying the economy was better. You can't keep saying that, because it wasn't.
You're absolutely right. It statistically was not. Now, people, we talk about this ad nauseum, and it's just so irritating for anybody to talk about the interest rates and the gas prices during fucking COVID and acting like Donald Trump had something to do with that. It doesn't matter. This Dan Marino statue that I have sitting right in front of me could have been president, and the same fucking numbers would have been the same. So
Correct.
it doesn't matter who the president was. The Federal Reserve is the ones who set the interest rates at the time. Donald Trump had nothing to do with it.
No.
And they're the ones who lowered the rates, and in my estimation, probably lowered them in a panic, maybe too low, which put us in the position that we're in now. But that's a whole nother conversation. But that is annoying to hear that, and you hear it over and over and over again. But I have one last question for Lana. Maybe she can answer this question, because I know I'm not equipped to answer it. Could you explain to our audience what black jobs are?
No. But I heard Trump made them.
I don't know what black jobs are.
He created
Is there a certain thing in the black community that you guys have secretly put together that there are jobs that we don't know about?
God.
What do you think he was talking about when he said black jobs?
Jobs for black people?
Yeah, but I mean,
but
what
again,
in his
it's
mind,
jobs.
what is a black job?
They're just jobs.
Right. But I mean, who says black jobs? I guess
a racist.
Right. That's what I'm saying is, though, but in his mind, what could possibly be the black job that he's talking about?
I don't even think he thought that far. He just wanted to say he created black jobs. I mean, he wants migrants to fight to stay in the country, to be in the country. So there's that piece.
Yeah, we talked about this before. The idea that the black voter is migrating towards Trump, which certainly is not true. I promise you, if you were black, you probably heard him just say black jobs and went, "What the fuck is this motherfucker talking?"
Right. Unless you just hate yourself and you just really refuse to listen or hear any of his dog whistles and stuff.
Yeah. So I found that pretty funny. And I heard that, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to ask Lana about this.
He's so disgusting. Like, every time I hear him, it's like, especially when he talks about the migrants, because he wants to pit the black people and the low-hanging fruit. they fall for it because he wants to pit the black people up against the migrants. Like he wants us to do his dirty work. Like he wants the black and brown people duking it out so that we don't like each other. Like they're taking your jobs. No, they're not. Like, honestly, I would ask any black person what job that you applied for that a migrant came and wanted to do the same kind of work. I fucking doubt it. Like, I really guarantee that they are not. Because I don't see a lot of them in IT. I don't what jobs? Are they taking your lawyer jobs or administrative jobs? They taking those? Because I don't see that.
Well,
what am I
especially
missing?
too when you have to you got to kind of add up that the black unemployment's the lowest that it's been ever.
Jobs are out there. There's not enough people to fill the amount of jobs that we have. That's part of the issue that we have with this inflation. Isn't this? I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing too. I mean, it's if you kind of put two and two together, people are like, well, why is the unemployment rate so low? It's because Joe Biden is creating jobs. Just like it got so frustrating last night when Donald Trump says that all he did was bring back the jobs that were lost. That is absolutely not true. He brought back way more jobs than the jobs were lost. And a lot of that had to do with a lot of the things, the infrastructure deal, all these different things that he brought in created new jobs. The CHIPS Act, Chips and Science Act, were taking jobs away from China and bringing them here to this country. So like it's simple math in a way, and it's easy to understand, but a lot of people just refuse to understand these simple facts.
Right.
And it's frustrating.
Very.
All right. So I think we can wrap it up now. I think we got everything off our chest that we needed to get off our chest. One thing that I am looking at, I got a brand new camera and it's very more clear, but it's making my face look so fucking
Oh, is that why you're lit up?
Yes. I mean, my camera's more clear, but my face looks, I look like a ghost. Maybe is it the white hat or is it just very white face?
I just noticed everything was bright in the background because normally it's a little darker back there.
I got a new camera, so I got to figure out the lighting. I got to figure out everything.
So wait, you have a camera and a laptop? How are you?
So the camera is I plug it into the laptop, and then you can choose if you're using the camera from the laptop or you're using the camera that you have plugged in. And I am using this brand new camera that is hooked to the laptop, and you have to adjust your settings. Thank you, Tom. I'm gonna I'm gonna work on that. I'm gonna go back into the studio and he can. Is that Tommy? Is that the Tom K that I know personally?
Yeah, if he's gonna help you, I guess so.
I think he can help you with that. But yeah, I mean, I just this is not good.
Yeah, you are looking at that. Your skin is almost as white as your gray beard. Your goatee.
Now you had to point out. Jesus Christ, this is I made a mistake coming on tonight. We were supposed to. I'm supposed to feel good at the end of this. We're supposed to be charged up about Joe Biden, and now I feel awful about myself as we're getting off here. My gray beard and this is the black and very, very, very white.
It's okay, it's easy for us. We just, diet up. We get rid of that stuff.
I will show you. I really doesn't bother me because I'm long past caring about what anybody thinks about how I look.
Because it would be weird if you started like coloring that.
Oh, I already do. And in fact, by the next show, it will be colored in. So
but what color would it be?
Brown.
Oh,
that's my natural hair color.
That would work. Yeah, I can see that. Color it in.
Well, there are some shows. If you go back and look, there are some where it is colored in, and some that is not. So it is tough because sometimes it starts to get too long. So I trim it down and shave it. So then it's too trimmed down to paint in, and then as it starts. Why the fuck? How did we get into this? I guess it's my own fault. I brought it up.
We're having a debate. I'll play Biden, you play Trump.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna lay out in the sun a little bit tomorrow. Tommy K is gonna help me with my settings.
They were like betting on like what color Trump was gonna be.
You could bet on literally anything now. I mean, literally
That is true.
anything. It is so funny. I saw one website. It's like, will it rain in New York next week? You know, or just
Wait, and like actually put like money bets?
100%. Yeah.
Oh shoot, that's
Yep.
wild.
It is wild. I am a sports gambler, so I do like to bet on the games. On my website, you can also bet on the election. And right now,
Really?
yeah, Joe Biden or Trump's a heavy favorite, and that scares me only because the betting markets don't fuck around with money. That's one thing they don't fuck around with is money. But it goes back and forth because Biden was a favorite not too long ago. Trump's back to being a favorite. They're going to see how everything shapes up with the polls. I think the polls play a sort of a big thing. Really, what you need to look at are the betting favorites in each state, because right now, if you look at the polling is going to show that Donald Trump is leading. But if you look at the states and the different polling there, in the polling the states are showing, but it's weird because some of the betting markets have, the Wisconsins, the Pennsylvanias, and the what are the three big ones? Michigans, as more for Biden. He's more of a favorite to bet on in those states than Trump is, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, we just need to make sure we're still charged up for Joe Biden and whatever administration that he brings along with him. Make sure that we all go out to the polls and vote, and don't take this for granted. Don't let this change your mind. Don't let it concern you. Don't let it, don't go around and tell other people that you have concerns now. Stay in the camp. Take a deep breath, just like our president said. When you get knocked down, you get the fuck right back up, and you don't whine like a fucking baby.
Jay-Z said that. Jay-Z said, "Wipe that dirt off your shoulder."
That is exactly correct. And something tells me that Jay-Z might be showing up at his rallies at one point and maybe singing that song. He might have to.
Yeah, right. They're probably begging him to.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, we get Jay-Z, and then we get Taylor Swift to start, throwing that out there.
A whole concert to raise money would be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but anyway, I thank everybody. Thanks for joining me tonight, Lana. I know I kind of threw this at you last second. So, we will be back on Tuesday night live at 8:00 for Black and White with Brian Rundle, Lana Quest. I forgot to ask this, but please, if you're watching this now, just hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. We really would appreciate that. Also check out Lana's show, The Quest Show. She's usually live on Thursday nights, but if she's not there, there's plenty of clips and shows that you could go back and watch her opinions on a lot of things, and she has a lot of great things to say. So please check that out. And obviously feel free to comment on us in the comment section. We appreciate the one day to the next who joined us, Baby Juggernaut, of course, Walton Paul, and Tommy K. Tommy, good to hear from you. And we will see you guys again on Tuesday. Good night, Lana.
Good night. Have a good weekend.